Hello and welcome to today's episode of Make Today Mammoth. I am your host, Dallas Hardcastle, and I am excited for you to be here because today we are talking about one of the single fastest ways that I know to be able to get focused in and to be able to grow a brand new service or program, and it is using the power of ones. You want to stick around because you will not have heard of this way of growing a business this fast, this effectively. Thank you so much for joining us. As I said, this is Dallas Hardcastle. I am super excited and I'm honored that you are investing some of your precious time to be here with me today. I would like to begin by, first of all, thanking you very, very much and letting you know that if you are new to our podcast, we appreciate it. If you haven't checked us out over on our YouTube channel, please make sure and do that as well so you can see this lovely smiling face back at you. And if you haven't already, you may want to consider subscribing to this podcast. And I want to ask you, if you haven't already, if you would please take 1 minute of your precious time to go over and to give us a 5-star review. It would be very, very deeply appreciated. The reason this matters is because when we get people to give us a 5-star review and hopefully write a little something about it, this pushes us up in the algorithms, which means there are going to be other people, maybe just like you, who are searching for answers, who are desperately trying to find a way to be able to do more, to be better, to be able to grow, to be able to own their life more, to be able to own a business, to be able to own their family time, to be able to get better in their relationships and their finances, to change their destinies, their trajectories. And they're looking for that show that can help them do that. And by you taking a minute to be able to give us that 5-star review, that pushes us up, which means that we will be more easily found by those searching for us. So with no further ado, let's get started. So today's episode with the power of ones is something that I did not come up with myself. I want to give full credit to one of my very early mentors years ago, and this is going back 12, 13 years ago, was a gentleman, Clay Collins. If you are not familiar with who Clay Collins is, I don't know honestly what he's doing right this moment, but at the time he was running some marketing channels, and he had a thing called the marketing program, I believe. And I met him, and he was one of my first one-to-one coaches and mentors, someone that I hired. I invested into the 5 figures with him. And for part of that time, I was able to go up and spend a couple days with him at a live mastermind up in his home. Very cool, like 4-level home with a rooftop. Very cool. But I was up there with him. And while I was up there, one of the things that I was introduced with him was the power of ones. Also, if you're not familiar with Clay Collins, he was the founder, the co-founder of a company called Lead Pages. So if you've never heard of Lead Pages before, he was the founder. I was actually working with him during the year where he was beginning to conceptualize and come up with that idea of building his own software. With that said, what I learned was this, that I was in the middle of doing a business where I was all over the place, right? I was trying to grow my first online business. I was trying to grow my first service-based business where I could sell some higher ticket items. A higher ticket item meaning that I didn't want to spend a bunch of time and energy selling a bunch of $50 and $100 products. I wanted to be able to sell services and products and programs that were higher ticket ones that were sometimes $2,000, $5,000, $10,000, $25,000. Sometimes these were membership sites. Sometimes they were coaching and consulting packages. Sometimes they were live events. Sometimes they were masterminds. Sometimes they were a combination of several of these things. And I was really, really struggling. So going back from 2008 to 2010 especially, I was really trying to figure out how to get traction, how to really be able to grow my online business. And what kept happening was that I was running and running and running. Never really suffered from the ability to run, the ability to take action, the ability to try to gain momentum. But with that came a level of chaos, meaning that I would begin running in a way in a certain direction. And then I would hear that thing that would say, oh, you want to be trying this. And then I would begin running that direction, and then that direction, and then that direction. Well, eventually, all of this energy, all of this stuff that had built up had me doing a bunch of things in a bunch of areas. Now, here is where the hurt and the pain comes in, and where I begin to learn a really big lesson. And that hurt and that pain stemmed from I was doing a lot of things in a lot of areas, but getting very little traction in most of them, and not really understanding the benefits and the costs involved with doing each of these things. Specifically, whenever you're listening to something that I'm going to be talking about, or if I'm going to be teaching or training, or if I'm bringing someone in for a VIP day, we're going to spend time talking about the 80-20 law. Not the rule, the law, because it is a law. It is immutable as gravity. The 80-20 law that says that 80% of our time and energy is going to create approximately 20% of the result, and approximately 20% of our times and energies are going to create approximately 80% of our results. With that in mind, the power of ones is a way to be able to take the best of what we're doing in these different areas, so that we're only focusing on a series of bests, a series of ones, if you will. This is exactly what it looks like. And why am I talking about this? Because it changed my business, it changed my life. I won't sit in here, I promise, and take all of our valuable times to discuss things that are hopefully these little tiny side things, mediocre, kind of you could take it or leave it things. That is never, ever my goal with this show. It is to bring heat every day, to talk real talk, and to explain to you what are the real things that really made a big difference, because I don't want you to have to go through all of the nonsense and the potholes and the landmines and the setbacks and the dead ends that I was required to go through for years, making thousands of mistakes that could have been avoided. So this is what I want you to consider. And please, more than consider it, implement it and do it. So the power of ones means that we're going to take, and this is for an entrepreneur or business owner who is either that you can sell a product, you could sell programs, you can sell services. This works in all areas of business, but this is essentially coming down to that 80-20. So we're moving ourselves into an area of focus and discipline. So if you're selling 4 or 5 services and programs, and none of them are really knocking it out of the park and you're struggling, I want you to identify the one best service or program you have. I want you to then identify the one best audience that can serve. Okay? I then want you to then take one traffic source. I want to emphasize this point. This is a major point of emphasis. You know what I mean there. Is here's what we do. When we're trying to get a business going, when we're trying to grow a business, when we're trying to create momentum, when we're trying to create growth, we are going out and we are finding 4, 5, 6 different services and programs, and we're trying to grow them. And maybe we figure out 4, 5, 6, 10 different audiences that these 5 or 6 programs could serve. So we're going out and creating all of those assets and deliverables and messagings and campaigns and content. And then we're going out and we're thinking, traffic, where can I get my traffic from? Well, we can do it from email or from paid social or on Facebook or on TikTok or on Google, or then there's also Twitter. And then we got affiliate programs and we got these joint venture strategic partnerships and we got these solo drops that we can do. And then I can also go ahead and sponsor some influencers, and then I can run some podcasts, and I can do this and do this and do this. So we have 5, 6, 8, 10 traffic sources coming into us. Okay, you're tracking with me so far? We want to figure out what is our one best traffic source. So if you have like 6 different things that are using traffic, 80-20 tells us that one of them is going to be your best. But you're diluting that best because you're busy focusing on 4, 5, 6 other traffic sources. So you have maybe one is good for, let's just, it's not 80-20, remember, is the law. Now, does that mean it's always 80-20 every single time? No. Sometimes it's 90-10. Sometimes it's 70-30. But what the law is stating is that if you have 5 traffic sources, one of them is by far going to be the best. Maybe it's 70%, maybe it's 90%, maybe it's 95% of all of the traffic that you're receiving. But yet we're diluting those efforts with these other 4 that are maybe getting like 9%, 4%, 2%. And gosh, this one's never produced anything, but yet we keep spending a few hours every week, time and energy and effort and money trying to get it to produce something when we got this one clear winner. So, and we want to have our one traffic source, our one marketing mechanism. What does that mean? Well, we don't want to market again in 5 or 10 different ways. We want to find one way to market. So maybe we're sending the traffic from our email list to a webinar, rather than let's send them into a webinar and then a case study video and then this lander and then over to this call and then maybe to this sequence and then this to this training and then over here to these conversations. Rather than driving people to all of these different places for our marketing effort, let's drive that one offer, that one program or service to one audience using one traffic source, using one marketing mechanism, using one sales conversion mechanism, and let's make sure then we're just using then one deliverable. Okay? The power of ones is that if we just focus on those ones that are the best of each of those categories, and we do that for a year, you are going to have an absolute slamming business. This ain't a maybe, my friend. This is a must. This is a will do. If you have a good service or program, if you're putting in the work, if you're delivering real results and really helping people, the thing that most of us suffer from is not the fact that we don't know something to do, something to add into our business, is that we continue adding in things to our business. When I'm working with a client, it is almost, and I mean almost, like I'm talking 98, 99% of the time. So if I have 100 clients, all but maybe 2 of them are suffering from this. It's never the client that comes to me and says, we're doing one of these, 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 and we're still struggling. It's always the, well, we don't know what's working. We have 4 or 5 different things we're trying to sell to 4 or 5 different audiences in 4 or 5 different ways, and we have a half dozen traffic sources, and we're using all of these different marketing mechanisms trying to convert it, and we're trying to sell them 3, 4, 5 different ways, to sending them on call, sending them to a webinar, sending them to a sales page, and we have all these different things that we're trying to use to be able to sell them, and then we have all these different ways that we're then delivering our product, our service. We have all of these different ways of delivering it. But yet we don't have one best way to set these up. I refer to this in a different way, and we'll talk about this in another podcast, but something I call a power stack. It's all about a series of ones so that we're able to get ourselves clearly defined and that we're able to focus on what is 80-20, right? What is the thing that is the 80 or 90% solution for the service of the program, the 80 or 90% solution to the audience, 80 or 90% for the traffic source, 80 or 90% for the marketing, 80 or 90% for sales, 80 or 90% then for the delivery. When you nail all those things, now we're spending time getting deep. Now, instead of digging a hole 2 or 3 feet, and then we don't find anything, and then we go over and we dig another hole 2 or 3 feet deep, and another. So eventually we'll look out over the landscape, and we have 40 or 50 2 or 3 foot deep holes. Instead, we want to have 100-foot deep hole for our service or our program, 100-foot hole for the audience, 100-foot hole for the traffic, 100 marketing, 100 sales, 100 delivery. When we do those, we become masters. Mastery. We are mastering each of these areas, which means that we understand them at the deepest of levels. We understand the nuance. We understand how to course correct. We understand how to optimize these things so that we can really create something super special so that the world, our audience, can find us at our strongest, because all of the things that we're doing now are all a sequence, a stack of our very bests, the power of ones. So friends, I urge you, do this in your business. It is almost never needing to add another thing. It is almost always us being required to subtract 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 things from our business so that we can channel that energy into focused, disciplined, consistent action and really become great in that area. Friends, if this has been useful for you, please implement it, number 1. And number 2, if there's anyone that you know that could benefit from this, and that you know that someone that's just scattered and they're all over the place and they've been in business 2, 3, 5, 10 years and they're working hard, but you just see that they're all over the place all the time, always trying the new thing, the next thing, something else. But yet they're still struggling. They're still trying to get that traction. Please consider sharing this episode with them so that they can finally understand that it's almost never the fact that they need one more thing, but they need to probably subtract 2, 3, 5 things from their business so they can really get focused, really get traction, gain momentum, start stacking these successes. Friends, I appreciate you stopping by today so much. I hope this has been super helpful for you. My name is Dallas Hardcastle. As always, just make today mammoth. And we will look forward to speaking with you again very soon. Take care.